Ladies and gentlemen, we have another insanely great inspirational runner. This young lady from Manhattan Beach, California can run at some seriously insane speeds, oftentimes while she smiles along the whole way. Through the years, she's inspired her family, her teammates, and pretty much anyone she comes in contact with. And she has even set a cross-country record while running at the University of Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Abby Hong. Here she is, Abby Hong. Thank you for joining us today. Abby, how'd you get into running?
My first race that I ever did was actually the Manhattan Beach 10K. When I was in 7th grade, my family moved to the South Bay when I was entering middle school. In 7th grade, my mom and dad and I all ran the 10K for the first time. It was the first time we'd ever actually run 6 miles in a row, which was sort of a fun experience. Then after that, I ended up joining the Mira Costa cross-country team when I went to high school. Because I didn't do a ton of other sports growing up. I did some swimming. I swam on the MB Dolphins team over at Beg Pool. But other than that, didn't have that much exposure to other sports. So decided to try out for the cross-country team in the fall, since swimming was a sport in the springtime. And then after doing cross-country with Renee and the whole team, ended up really loving it. They recruited me to do track in the spring, so never actually ended up swimming in high school.
I first met Abby in the summer going into her freshman year because we run a summer program. And I think she was also a swimmer and she wasn't sure whether she was going to swim or not. And she came out to run and she just worked hard, fit in, had fun, so decided to try out for the team and made it. But at the time we were a nationally ranked cross-country team. So she had a whole 7 to 8 girls that were super fast on the team for her to follow.
Wow.
Yeah, so she actually,
Abby
didn't make varsity her freshman year.
Oh wow! So she wasn't the only fast one that year. There was some.
No, she had a good crew to train with.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was really helpful.
It was really great running for Costa. The team was actually really, really good when I was a freshman. They had, qualified. They ended up getting runner-up at the state meet and then going to Nike Cross Nationals. It was really, I think, inspiring for me as a freshman. I wasn't on the varsity team, but I got to see the team and really looked up to all of them. Sort of all the work that they put in, the sort of drive that they had, and, the really great team camaraderie that they had. And that was something that I really wanted to carry forward in the next couple of years that I spent at Costa. But yeah, I would say in general, it was a really great experience running at Costa. A lot of the girls that were on the team at the same time as me are still great friends. I just went to the wedding of one of my friends who was on the team with me at Costa just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, definitely a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. And we talked before, and you mentioned that Coach Renee was a big influence on you. What is something you remember about her coaching style that really helped propel you forward?
One thing I think that she really emphasized is it sort of that teamwork aspect of, all of the girls sort of relying on each other. She never really took any of the credit for anything, but she was, a huge piece of motivating, every individual girl on the team, the whole team to work together. And sort of with that, when you're out on the course and when you're struggling and when you're hurting, you're really out there for each other. And sort of having that larger purpose, I think, really helps drive the whole team. You're encouraging each other out there. You're not there, just to beat one another. At the end of the day, everyone's there to compete, but also everyone's there to push each other to your best.
Awesome. Wow. So you ran, you said that Manhattan Beach 10K was the first time you'd run 6 miles or
yeah.
something?
Yeah. Prior to that, the only really running I had done was at MUMS, they have Run Day where you run around Pollywog Park every Wednesday. That was really the only other running I had done.
Wow. So you didn't do any running and you just went out there and said, I'm going to do the Manhattan Beach. Wow. Wow. And you said your mom and your dad. I know I've seen your dad run at races. I've seen seen him.
Yeah. My parents both did it too. It was really the first time any of us had really run that far. We just decided we'll sign up. It's a race just in our hometown, so we'll go ahead and do it. We had to look up how far is a 10K, and we're 6 miles. I mean, it should be doable. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And both my parents actually ran the 10K with me this year too. My mom and I ran the mother-daughter division and ended up winning that.
Do you have any brothers or sisters? Do you have any?
Yeah, I have 2 younger brothers too. They're twins, Justin and Caleb. They're about 5, 6 years younger than me, and they also actually run on the Costa cross country and track
Well,
teams.
running is a family sport.
Yeah, makes it fun if we go on family vacations. Everyone will go out and run in the morning.
Good. That's good because I remember I was the only runner when I was growing up. And I remember in my family, I remember we went to Yosemite once, and my mom's like, I went out running one morning, and I was like, "Where were you?" We were looking. I'm like, but I guess that didn't happen in your family. That's good. What do you get out of running? What is it? I mean, it's obviously a big commitment. You got to log all these miles. It's a lot of hard work. What do you get out of it?
I mean, I think you get a lot out of running. You know, in different stages of life, I think maybe different emphases. But right now, I think one, I think it's a really great balance in life. You know, working. You know, you have work, which takes up a whole lot of your time. You have your family and friends, and then you always have running sort of as something that brings a lot of structure to your day to day, something that you can sort of focus on. Different goals that you can work towards. It's definitely something that I've really enjoyed having in my life. And then I think secondarily, maybe not secondarily, but another huge component of it is really that community and social aspect of it. Is having your friends and family, since a lot of my family also runs as well, having them be part of it, either running with you or being part of the experience, is really a lot of what makes the whole sport fun as well.
She's very self-motivated. She's internally driven, not by any external things. And I really believe that Abby enjoys running. And as she was starting to not learn to run, but learn to train and to train faster, I think she internally challenged herself. And as she got better, noticed that the training got harder. As she got better, she noticed that she was getting better. And so she was able to measure her progress, and she progressed at the perfect rate.
Yeah.
I think she loves to run, and she's organized, and she's super bright. She's internally motivated.
But I was looking on the internet. It said you ran like well, I'm not sure it was in college or at Mira Costa, but you ran like a 4:48 mile or something. Was that in college or was that at Costa?
In college, yeah. In high school, I broke 5 for the mile, but I don't think I had any records at Costa.
That's still really,
yeah,
that's still really fast. Yeah, that's very good. That's wow.
Yeah, in college, I temporarily had the 5K record. At Penn, I'd run 16:05 outdoors, and this is the school record. It was actually just broken.
Yeah, I saw you beat a record by 4 seconds, I think, or something.
Yeah, something around there.
Wow, that's really good. I mean, that's impressive. You ever run like 10,000 meters on a track? Did you ever have to do that?
I did twice actually in college, both at our conference meets. One when I was a sophomore, which was a much tougher experience, and then again as a senior. I had doubled at conference in the 10K 5K. 10K was on Saturdays and the 5K was on Sunday.
I did that one time in college way back, and I remember I was losing track to how many laps we had. 5 or 26.
Yeah.
Gosh. But okay, that's really good. So you transferred from Mira Costa to the University of Pennsylvania. And you went there. How was the transition going from Mira Costa to college? I know I know myself, I ran for a year in college, and long story short, the culture in college is a lot different than high school. And so how did you manage that transition? What did you see different, and how did you adjust?
I would say, one of the main differences, other than just the geographic distance from California, since I was going all the way out to Philadelphia, one of the main differences is just all of the different distractions that are in college. You're out there, you have so many different choices every day, what to do, how to spend your time, how to prioritize, running, school, hanging out with friends, meeting new people. And the other thing that's hard to balance is just the academic workload. At Penn was definitely difficult. Balancing that with running on the team definitely takes up a lot of your time. But one of the greatest things was, the teammates that I had at Penn, sort of coming in and already having sort of that support system of the cross country team and of the larger track team sort of already makes you feel like you already sort of have a home away from home, which I think is one of the hardest things to get in college when you sort of first land on campus as a freshman. So that was definitely something that I would really lean on as my support system of, if you're sort of struggling with, classwork or balancing classwork and running, or, you're struggling with sort of more the mental side, of going into college because, coming out of high school, usually everyone's top of their high school team or top of their region. And you come into college and, all of a sudden now everyone's that good or better than you. So it can be, a tough transition there as well. But I think really sort of just like looking to those, older teammates that I had on the team, a lot of those people that had already, experienced a lot of what you're going through as a freshman, definitely helped me.
Yeah. It was the coaching. How was the coaching different in college versus where you're, where at Mira Costa, for example?
I wouldn't say the training was drastically different. Our coach was pretty lenient with the girls come onto the team, sort of adapting to their backgrounds. Some of the girls that were on my team with me hadn't run as much mileage in high school. Like maybe their longest run was only 8 miles, 10 miles or so going into college. So they weren't put into an immediately super long workout or super long run because that would be a big shock for them. So he was pretty adaptable to understanding people's backgrounds, and I think that was helpful also in the transition to college. So everyone's not put just on a cookie cutter program.
What did you study in college? What did you?
I majored in biology and did a minor in statistics.
Oh wow! What do you? Can I ask what kind of work do you do now? What do you?
Yeah, I currently work for a healthcare tech company that's based up in San Francisco. It's called Collective Health. We handle administration of healthcare benefits for various different companies. That was my first job out of college. So I started there back in 2018, still working there a little over 6 years later.
That's great. Good for you. Oh, that's good. What advice do you have for someone that's taking up running for the first time?
I think first and foremost is to really just enjoy it. A lot of the coaches that I've talked to, their main goal, especially for, those that are coaching high school, a lot of times it's people's first experience with running, is really that running is a lifelong sport. I know people always say, you should pace yourself, make sure you don't overdo it early on, which I think is also important, but really making sure that you enjoy the entire process of it. It's really great to, sort of set a goal, work towards that goal. And even if you don't achieve that goal, maybe not the first time, maybe not the second time even, it's enjoying that whole process, the whole journey of, the people that you're going on the journey with, sort of just soaking it up sort of every day and enjoying that sort of, daily grind of doing the training and running.
So the main thing is enjoy it along the way. Otherwise you'll just quit and get tired of it.
Right. It can otherwise be sort of easy to get, sidetracked or, get very single-mindedly, I need to accomplish X, Y, Z in order to be happy. And I think that makes it a lot tougher. But if you're really enjoying the process and surrounding yourself with people who are, motivating you and lifting you up, you'll be much happier, throughout the entire process. And usually, I've found at least that, when you're happy, you usually do end up running well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And you definitely, one of the things I've seen you run a few times. I'm with my group of runners. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, there's Abby Hahn. And then I've seen you in races. I think it was the AMS 5K. I got a video of you in the race. Good job, Abby. Good job. Keep going. And it doesn't matter whether you're running like at a 5-minute mile pace in a 5K or whether you're just cruising on the street. You've always got this smile. Okay. So, and I'm like, how could she be in such pain right now and just have that smile on her face? So, now I've heard like, who's the famous marathon guy? Kipchoge. I've heard him say, you got to have a smile on your face. It's easier. What are your thoughts? Do you, is this just natural for you or do you consciously think, I'm smiling at my race, so I got to smile?
Right. It's funny that you say that because I don't know if I consciously think about it, but I've had a lot of other people comment the same thing or tell me the same thing. And, like looking back in pictures as well, it does look like I'm smiling in a lot of them. But I don't know if it's really a conscious effort of like, I need to make sure that I'm smiling so that, I'm to really show anything. But I think maybe, at more of a subconscious level, really just, making sure that I'm enjoying myself out there. I also think that when you're, a little bit more relaxed, at the start line and in the race, it can sort of just, you just are in a state of flow.
I remember her first race. We were running on the West High course, and it was the first race that she led. It was a freshman race, and specifically, she was leading with another girl. and they were neck and neck the whole race, and she was smiling the whole race.
Yeah.
And I remember so many people coming up to me saying, does she always smile like that? And she just does. It's just, that's her look. And I've never actually asked her about it.
Okay.
But I just think she's an internally happy person, and that's her baseline, if that makes sense.
It's not like I'm making a conscious decision to make sure that I'm smiling for the cameras or anything like that, but I think really just sort of, relaxing and enjoying the moment, and, being present in racing is.
That's good. That's good.
I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem, I'm like, I can't believe this. I think she's still smiling after running all these miles. So, but yeah, that's good. That's really good. And that's what I've heard the same, like they say if you smile in a race, it relaxes you, keeps you calm, and so that's good. That's really good. Good job, Abby. Good job. What do you think sets apart Abby from others?
Boy, that's a good question. I think she's happy to begin with. She's just some people are just happy people, but she's also super bright, and she's a super caring person. So for example, she got injured in the track season of her senior year, and it came to Bay League finals. She came out to practice every day, but she also cross-trained by herself every day. And when it came to league finals, she wrote every single girl on the team a little special good luck note that related to just them. So she's just an amazing human. She's very caring. She's happy. She's a good person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Tell me about the toughest race in your life.
It's a great question. I would actually say one of the toughest races I did was a 10K on the track. The first one I ever did in college was when I was a sophomore, and I did it at our conference meet. I didn't actually find out that I was running the 10K at the conference meet until just about a week before. I thought I was going to be running the 5K because that had been my main event all season, and about a week before, my coach had told me that, hey, you run a decent amount of volume. We have already a lot of runners in the 5K. Like, I think it would be a great opportunity for you to run the 10K. You could potentially score there. And I think I was just not in the right mindset to sort of switch over to twice the distance, 25 laps on a track. It was the first time I'd really done that. Yeah. So I was sort of on pace, doing sort of exactly what my coach had told me the first 5K, and the second 5K sort of just fell apart from there. And I was sort of yo-yoing back and forth in pace, trying to, get back onto it, and then sort of falling off pace. And I think at one point my coach asked me if I wanted to drop out of the race, because I wasn't going to be in a scoring position anymore, but I still really just wanted to finish the whole thing. But it was definitely a mental battle that second 5K for sure.
Yeah, I've done it like I said earlier, I've done it one time, and it's just really so tough to run all those laps around the track. And
yeah, it can definitely be tough, and you really have to be in the right mindset for it. I am planning on trying out a 10K on the track again this upcoming spring, and hopefully we'll go much better than that. I think if you're really sort of coming into it prepared, and really mentally prepared for it, sort of mentally strong, knowing, and I think also just a little bit more excited about it than I was probably at the time, it'll go much better.
That's good. Tell me about your training. What do you do to train?
So right now, actually, I don't have a coach. I've just been sort of writing my training myself the past couple of years, but I think it's nice to have the flexibility. If one day you're a little bit more tired, you can push the workout to another day, or maybe cut it slightly shorter if that's not a good day. But typically I run a decent amount of mileage. I've been running about at least like 70, 80 miles a week the past couple of months or the past year, because I had gotten up to about 80 miles a week at the end of college, and found that running a sort of higher volume really worked for me, at least. So I've sort of gone back to that this past year, done sort of a decent amount of volume, and really just accumulating that, I think, week after week. I don't try to do anything really crazy in workouts, really just try to stack, one after another. And I think that sort of just building that week after week of doing consistent workouts, consistent mileage, getting that all in, sort of really will build up over time, and you can see that start to pay off in races.
How often do you incorporate intervals or maybe threshold training into your weekly? How often do you do that?
I'll typically do at least 2 days of quality per week. Usually one that is more threshold based, and then one that's a little bit faster, depending on what I'm focusing on training for. So like in the spring, I was focused more on training for the 5K. So I would typically do one main session that would be, mainly VO2 max or 5K based work, so that I could really feel what that race pace would feel like on the track and sort of get your body and your mind used to it. And then I would do, one session that's maybe more threshold based, or maybe one that's even more mile speed based, so that you can sort of touch all different systems.
Do you incorporate a lot of hills into what you do? Do you maybe say, okay, certain days a week I'm going to do hills and certain days I'm not, or anything like that?
I don't typically do a hill focused session every week, at least right now. I'll usually get in a decent number of hills because the area is just hilly. Anytime I run down to the beach or to the strand and then come back, you have to come up all the hills. And so there's definitely that sort of day to day. Another workout that I like to do occasionally that we used to do all this time in high school when training for cross country is doing the hills over by El Porto. So I usually do a couple tempo miles all the way out to El Porto on the strand, and then run like 10 of the hills up and down the streets in El Porto. And then do like another hard mile back on the strand, back to the Manhattan Beach Pier. So it's sort of a fun workout. You get a little bit of tempo, a little bit of speed, a little bit of hills, all sort of in the same workout. So that's a fun one that I like to do every once in a while.
That's good. I know guys that went to college in Davis, and they're like, there's no hills up here. So we're fortunate down here. We got
there's tons around here.
Tons of hills.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do what kind of cross training do you do? Any other, like, do you strength training or yoga or anything like that?
Right now I actually primarily just run. I did a lot more strength training back in college. I actually took some time off of running after college for a couple of years, but I didn't really run competitively, mostly just focused on work, and got back to it more seriously in the past couple of years. So sort of just been mainly focusing on the running right now. I have done some more cross training in the past as well, like with like swimming and biking when injured, or working through something like that. But yeah, right now mainly focused on mostly running mileage.
How do you handle injuries? I know a lot of people are like, just fight through that injury, keep going. And like, no, I'm going to back off. Is there anything in particular that you've done to keep yourself going through an injury?
Mm-hmm. It's a fine balance, I think. I've actually been pretty fortunate for most of my running career to be pretty injury free. I think the biggest injuries that I've had was actually my senior year of high school. The spring season, I had gotten a stress fracture in my metatarsal, so I actually missed my senior year spring of track season at Mira, Costa. So I think, that was probably one of the biggest disappointments for me, because it was the first time really I had an injury. It was a lot to work through. It was also the last season I was going to have in high school, and, just a lot of unknowns with going to college, not knowing what it was going to be like. But, again, I think, like I mentioned earlier, really leaning on your support system, on Renee, on the different, folks on the team at Costa. I think that really helped me through it. Like I still went to practices every day. I went to all of the meets just to surround yourself with everyone. And then I think cross training wise, that obviously helps keep you fit as well. So I went to PT just to figure out, what is the root cause of the issues, and then did a lot of sort of various different swimming, biking, elliptical, and sort of whatever I could just to keep busy as well. Because I think, the other component of it is that when you're missing running, you feel like you still want to do something. So, once I was cleared to do, I think initially I was doing just some like swimming in the pool, even just like with the pool buoys, so you're not using your legs at all. Sort of just working your way up from there.
Work around your injury, yeah.
Right.
What's your favorite distance to run? I've seen you run like everything from the half mile up. Have you run longer than 10? Have you run like a half marathon or marathon?
I ran a half marathon actually a couple weeks before the 10K this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one did you do?
I did one out in Philadelphia since it's
okay. Is that your first time running that distance? Is it?
It was the first time I really raced the distance. I'd actually done one other half marathon earlier this year. My family was on vacation actually out in Taiwan, visiting some family out there. And we had found a half marathon that happened to be put on around where we were. And so we all jumped in and ran it, which was sort of fun. I didn't train too specifically for it, but it was a good first intro to the half marathon distance. And then this past one in mid-September, I sort of really tried to train and peak for and ran that out in Philadelphia.
You think you're going to stick with the shorter, like 5K, 10K, or do you think you're going to move into like half marathon, maybe marathon? And any aspirations to that, or?
At some point, for sure. I want to try a marathon, but I think for now I'm pretty happy with the shorter distances.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite event right now is the 5K. This past spring, I had done a couple of track races. Finally beat my college PR in the 5K, and I ran 15:56 at a meet out in April, and it was a lot of fun. The 5K was one of my favorite distances at the end of college, and I think still is one of my favorites. So hoping to do a couple more of those next spring.
Yeah, it's great that you can run a 5K and you can finish and you're done in your case 15 minutes practically, and the next day you're not. I mean, the day after running a half marathon or marathon is a little bit more, it takes a little more out of you. So yeah, it's a good distance.
Right. Yeah, but I also think part of the fun of it is doing different distances. I know a lot of people like to focus on one at a time, but I don't know. I find a lot of fun in sort of just switching it up and doing different things. I did a half marathon about a month ago. I did the Manhattan Beach 10K recently. I'm planning on doing a couple more different races this next couple of months in different distances. Potentially doing another half marathon. There's a 6K cross country race that's in December that I'm going to be doing with my team up in the Seattle area.
6 kilometers?
Yeah, 6 kilometers.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so range of different things.
Yeah. How fast did you run the half marathon?
1:15:50.
Oh my gosh, so fast! Wow, first time too. So, wow, that's really good.
Thanks.
Do you have a favorite road race? Like you've run a lot of different road races. You mentioned Manhattan Beach 10K. I know I've seen you there. All these different races you probably run. Is there a favorite one you like to run?
I say actually the Manhattan Beach 10K is one of my favorites. Just because it's always really fun running in your hometown. You know so many people out there on the course afterwards. Before you're sort of always running into people. There's also something about running the same roads that you run every single day, but they feel different on race day somehow. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Manhattan Beach 10K is kind of it's almost like, well, I know. I'm guessing you've not run the LA Marathon.
I haven't.
Okay, so it's almost like a mini LA Marathon that everyone seems to come out in Manhattan Beach, and there are kids out with posters and everything. It's kind of cool. Yeah, so I really love that one too. You've been in different clubs. How's participating in clubs? I'm guessing most of them since college. Mm-hmm. How's participating in clubs helped you improve as a runner?
I think the clubs have actually been really important to me because it gives you sort of that sense of being on a team that I've missed from being, in high school and in college. The entire time you're always surrounded by having a team and a coach and having that sort of structure of having practice. And then after you graduate from college, a lot of it's like, hey, now you're just out on your own. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And there's not a designated group of people that you're always meeting up with to, for daily practice. But I think having the clubs, it sort of brings a little bit of that structure back. You have, people that are going to be motivating you in workouts or in runs or just, to have fun with. That's been really helpful. The team that I'm currently on is called Angel City Elite. It's a group of women in the LA area. I actually just joined their team earlier this year, but they're sponsored by Brooks. And one of the main goals of the team is to sort of bring more awareness or is to sort of raise up the minorities that are in running. So we have a couple different women on the team that are, Hispanic or Asian or sort of more underrepresented minorities within distance running. That I think also makes it a little bit special. Everyone, feels, connected to that mission, and it's really empowering to sort of, work with those different other women and, encourage them. Some of them are racing the Chicago Marathon in a couple of days this weekend. So it's really great just to have that, that group.
And is this an all women's club? Is this men and women, or is it?
It's currently just an all women's club.
Okay. And Angel City Elite, are these all like really fast? Sounds like they're really like you. They're probably all really fast, or?
Yeah, everyone's pretty fast.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing for myself. A club, being in after you graduate high school or college, and you're like, okay, well, who am I running with? I find running once or twice a week at least with the club helps you keep focused and you have the camaraderie. Yeah, that's good. Do you follow any special diet plans to prepare for a race or anything? Anything in particular you have?
Usually not. Because I think preparing for a race, you just want to make sure you're not drastically changing anything too much. You're sort of just, keeping to your normal rhythms, not trying anything brand new the week before a race. So I wouldn't say anything in particular, because I also want to make sure you don't get, too superstitious. I know some people have like a pre-race favorite meal or something that they always eat the morning before a race, but I think it's trickier because sometimes, you may be at a race that's, away from home, or due to unforeseen circumstances, you aren't able to get, whatever it is that you normally rely on, and
right.
It can feel like, you're without your like special power. So I like to try to stay away from the superstitions so that you stay a little more flexible and a little bit, not tied down on race day.
Do you, like the morning of a 5K or 10K, do you eat before in the morning of the 5K or 10K? Do you eat something?
I'll usually eat something in the mornings, yeah.
Okay. What are your future running goals? What do you want to do? Like you said, running's for all stages of life. You were in high school, college, now you're a young adult, and you're the thing with the Angel City Elite. What are your future goals for running?
I mean, I'd say in general is, to really just continue to enjoy it. Because, like we were saying, it is a lifelong sport. It's something that you can kind of do for forever and, really just have fun with and have it be a great outlet, both socially, competitively. It's just a really great thing to have in your life. But I would say, I guess, goal-wise, sort of actually short term, it may sound a little bit more out of place, but I'm actually planning on going back to Penn in November for their homecoming weekend, because at the same time they're actually opening up a brand new indoor track facility, and they're holding an alumni mile there. So short term, actually, my goal is to try to PR in the mile, since I haven't run too many mile races lately, and it should be.
You did the Manhattan Mile, right? You did the Manhattan.
Yeah, I did the Manhattan Mile on the roads, but I haven't raced a mile on track too often.
Which do you think is harder, on the track or Manhattan Mile, or doing it on the track? Which do you think is harder?
I think Manhattan Mile is harder. Everyone sells it as a net downhill course, but it's got too many hills in the middle. So I prefer just the sort of I prefer tracks for sure, especially for a mile, because you know exactly how much further you have, any point around the track, and everything's flat, so you can pace a little bit better.
Yeah, I've run the Manhattan Mile too, and it seems as though even though it is a net downhill,
right.
sometimes they have those signs that say like 1/4 mile. Sometimes you're like, hey, where to go? What's happening?
Yeah.
You might see one sign. So yeah, being able to pace yourself around track. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
On the line right now, final push right here, Wellesley. 4 minutes, 37 seconds across the line. These women are on top of it, turning it over. We are still sub 5-minute mile.
Come on, Abby. So
short term, I guess, is to PR in the mile, because I love the mile. It's always sort of a fun event. It was my favorite distance to run in high school. And then I think longer term, I know we talked some about, the marathon. It's definitely something that I do want to pursue in the future, maybe in the next couple of years. I know also there's the sort of out there is that I think 2:37 currently is the standard for the Olympic marathon trials for women. I think it's something that, could be achievable in my future in the next couple of years. So would be something fun to go for in 2028.
Yeah, 1:15.5, I think is what you said. Yeah, it's definitely potentially doable there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abby also, when I spoke with her, she mentioned that she aspires to run the Olympic marathon. Did you ever think when you were coaching her that, hey, she's got potential to go to the Olympics?
I'd say yes. Actually, by her senior year, she had really figured it all out. And she, at the high school state meet her senior year, I think she was 5th or 6th, and she felt like she could do better. She was on a recruiting trip to Cal, I think. And I was leaving for Hawaii or something, and we were talking on the phone, and she said, we started talking about running Foot Locker. And I said, yeah, well, I think you should run Foot Locker. You have nothing to lose. Why not just go run it? And she ended up getting on the Foot Locker West team and going to Foot Locker Nationals. And I'd say that's about the time I went, she's got this. She could really do something even more than this. I mean,
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I think that's when the light bulb maybe went off for me that she was going to be really good and could be really good.
And for people who don't, what exactly is Foot Locker? Foot Locker is... Yeah.
So in the high school world, you have your state fund, and then you have what's called NXN, which is a team thing that you get only two teams from each state get invited to each region. And then there's also Foot Locker Nationals. It used to be called in the old day like Kinney. And those are, if you're in the top 10 in your region, the whole West region, then you go on and you represent the West in a national meet. So it's the top 10 it might have been 8 back then, 8 or 10 individuals. And so they have a race at Mount Sac, and that's how you qualify. And she was the second to last one to qualify and made the team. And so she represented the West. It's East, West, North, and South team. So it's the highest you can get in cross country in high school.
It was at that point you said, okay, I think she could maybe take this a lot.
And I knew it also because she wanted it. So after the state meet, she ran great, but she didn't think she ran as well as she could have. And she said, I'm going to try. She wanted to run one more time. She wanted to have another opportunity.
Yeah.
And so she's just so self-driven. It's awesome. It's really fun to coach somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then she went on to run it, at UPenn, and she did very well there.
Yeah, she set
and
a
I
record.
think that's actually where the UPenn coach recruited her. I think she'd be a great marathoner. I think that's going to be her distance. Like you give her a number and she could run that pace for 26 miles. So I would love to see her run one in the near future, in the next, was sometime this year.
Yeah.
Just for her to get a feeling for it, and then find a coach and a group to train with for it.
Yeah. After running your mile in Pennsylvania at the Alumni Mile, and you ran Manhattan Mile, I know before you said, the Manhattan Mile is definitely harder. Do you still think the Manhattan Mile is harder than what you did in the indoor? It was an indoor mile, right?
Yep, it was an indoor 200-meter banked track. It was a new facility that they just opened at the University of Pennsylvania. Yeah, I still prefer the track. I haven't run on an indoor track since college. It's been a long time, but it's actually pretty fun to run on a banked small tracks, 8 laps to a mile.
Yeah.
But the energy is a lot higher indoors because you have everyone sort of in an enclosed space. It's a pretty exciting atmosphere. Obviously, you don't get like the little rolling hills that you get at the Manhattan Mile here on our course. No sharp turns. So I still prefer the track. I think it's a faster, sort of more exciting.
Although with more 8 laps, more turns, isn't it a little bit slower?
There are more turns, but it's the way that they set it up. It's a pretty gentle turn, and because of the way that it's built to be banked, it's supposed to be just as fast as running on a flat road.
Marathon's much longer race than you ran thus far, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you think you would prepare for like the Olympic marathon trials as opposed to what you've been doing in the past shorter races?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm planning to work up to it. I only really got back into doing more competitive serious racing this past year, sort of started back up with the 5K since that was my favorite event at the end of college and sort of what I was the most comfortable with. Started back with the 5K. I dabbled a little bit in the half marathon on the roads in the fall, just trying a couple out to see what the distance feels like, what the training would be like, to sort of extend that out to be a little bit more. I have always been on the higher side of mileage running. Like I ran up to about 80 miles a week at the end of college and then have been about 70, 80 this past year, getting up to 90 for a couple of weeks leading up to the half marathon. So I feel like the mileage works pretty well for me. I like it a lot, and my body seems to be okay with it, and I haven't gotten injured that much in the past during my running career. So I think I'll be able to adapt to the training load that a marathon requires. But I don't think it'll still be a big step up. For sure. I think it's something that I'm looking to do, in the next 2.5, 3 years or so. Is to debut in the marathon for the first time. I think, next year sort of focus on, doing a 10K on the track in the spring, maybe do a couple more half marathons, and then maybe the following year try out the marathon. So it'll be a slow process to make my way up there. But is something that I'm looking forward to do.
It's good. Yeah. So you kind of work up to it over time. You still got some. Yeah. Okay. In addition to your training regimen changing over time, what else about your lifestyle you think is going to have to change to qualify for an Olympic marathon? Like I know a few marathon runners that they're not in the Olympics, but they're like logging some serious miles, and I'm just curious, what do you see anything else changing in your life in order to meet that goal of making the trials or making the team?
I mean, I think the number one thing really is just consistency over a long period of time. I think for the marathon in particular, that's really important. Is you can't just, focus in for 6 weeks, have a, short training block, and then go and run a marathon. It's sort of something that I'm going to be building up to, over the, couple of years. I'm not, focusing on marathon training right now, but sort of focusing on, taking those, taking the stepping stones to get to there. So I think just that consistency over time really will be big for me. So I don't know if I necessarily see it as a big change in sort of, how I'm treating training or lifestyle and all of that. I think all of that really will stay the same at its core. It'll just sort of be taking those steps up to it. I do think though that one thing, marathon specific though, will be focusing more in on those sort of long run workouts, working out like nutrition and fueling strategies. I haven't really had to think about that much in the past since I've been running shorter races. So that will definitely be something to consider as I look to the marathon distance. What
would it mean to you if you made the Olympic team?
I don't really know if I've really even thought that far yet. Sort of just, in the spirit of what I've been talking about, sort of just taking it one step at a time. It was pretty awesome though to watch the Olympic trials marathon this past cycle. I had actually gone out and done a long run with a couple of my friends, and we were watching the trials. Someone had it running on a bike, and so we could be watching it during the long run because you are watching it for a couple of hours still, which was a fun experience. It's sort of cool to sort of imagine, what it would be like 4 years from now if I were running in that race. So definitely something to look forward to and aspire to, but maybe we'll have to wait until it gets a little bit closer to tell you more.
Yeah, you got some time. I see, according to the 2024 U.S. Olympic site, qualifying time for the women's half marathon is 1 hour and 12 minutes. And you recently ran, I think it was 1:15, right? You ran a 1:15 half in Philadelphia.
Yep.
So you're kind of like almost there already. If you want to do the half marathon, you're almost there for that. I also looked at the this marathon predictor time on runhive.com. They have this marathon time predictor, and it says based on your 1:15 half in Philadelphia, and I also entered in your recent 5 minute, I think it was 5 minutes you did in Pennsylvania, right? Roughly
5 minute mile. Yep.
Yeah, 5 minutes, and then an estimating that if you were to run 80 miles a week, which I guessed 80, and you just said 80, so I guess right. It estimates you'd run. It estimates, right? These are all estimates. About a 2:39. Marathon. So you're ready practically. I mean, I think it's 2:37 is what they say you should, if you want to do the marathon. Which race do you think you would have a better chance at qualifying for, the half or the full marathon? Which do you think?
I think according to the different charts that I've seen, the half marathon is a harder standard to hit. I think last year there was about 170 women that ended up qualifying for the trials, and about 150 of them qualified off the marathon distance, and only a small handful qualified out of the half marathon distance. I mean, obviously you want to have run a marathon beforehand, so that probably also plays into the way that the numbers were divided. But I do think that according to the different tables and calculations that people have, the 2:37 is a little bit of an easier time. Easier is relative, right? But a little bit of an easier time to hit than the half marathon.
Yeah. Okay. I also looked at a website called FlowTrack, and the qualifying times for the women's Olympic 5K in 2024 was like 13:05, and the women's 10K was 27 minutes flat. So do you think you'd be better qualified to make one of those events instead of the marathon? Or maybe do you think you could qualify for all of them? 5K, 10K, marathon, what do you think?
I mean, I think the 5K and the 10K are still sort of more in my wheelhouse right now.
Yeah.
But I think the times to actually qualify into the trials are in the years that they don't have the Olympics, they have a outdoor like USA track and field championships. And if you qualify in the top 3, there's a world championships for track and field. So it's sort of a similar cycle to the Olympics. They just have a world championships instead of the formal Olympics. And I think I do have aspirations of trying to qualify for that meet as well. I think you typically have to get down though until at least like under 15:30 for a 5K to have a shot at qualifying for that. I think the automatic standard is around 15:10 or so, but they take a certain number of spots that they fill past the 15:10 timeline if there are additional people to fill to the cap. So that's something that I've also looked to as well because I've had more experience racing 5Ks and things on the track and not as much of the longer distances. So that's definitely something that I'd also want to try to pursue in the next couple of years. But the competition though for 5K, 10K, really any distance for the United States for track and field is very, very competitive.
Yeah.
So it would be an honor just to be in the meet with everyone else.
And I see that after you ran the Philadelphia half marathon, that you paced. I think you paced 1 or maybe 2 half marathons since then or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What was the experience like pacing it? That's the first time you did that, right?
Yeah, it was great. I had paced the Malibu half marathon. Actually, with one of my teammates from Angel City Elite, we both paced the 125 group. One of my friends had reached out to me saying it would be really cool if we could get together an all-female pacing team for the Malibu half marathon. And typically they only have paces that go down to the 130 time, but we wanted to also have a 125 group to have an extra opportunity for folks that maybe wanted to run a little bit faster. So one of my teammates, Sabrina De La Cruz, and I both paced the 125 group. I think we maybe had 8 or 10 guys that were with us to start with, and at least 4 or 5 of them finished with us. We ended up running like 122, 123. So it was really fun to have that whole group out there. Everyone was motivating each other. And it's a different experience than racing yourself. Is helping other people reach their goals and motivate them and encourage them to get to the finish. And that was a really rewarding experience for me.
Yeah. You expect to do more of those?
Yeah, I would love to do more of that in the future. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. How might pacing, like someone's pacing half marathons or marathons, how do you think that would help them? How does that benefit them as a runner? How do you think?
Doing the pacing yourself or having someone pace you?
Yeah, if you're the pacer, how does that help you out?
I would say, I mean, first and foremost, it's a great it's a great tool in training to be able to finely tune the pace that you're trying to run. Being able to tell, what is the difference between running a 5:45 mile versus a 6-minute mile versus a 6:15, and being able to sort of go out and on command be able to run a certain pace. I think that's really helpful in training and in workouts, making sure that you're hitting the right intensities and the right paces that you're meaning to hit for the purpose of that workout, to make sure you're not, either overdoing it or underdoing it. You're sort of, staying true to the purpose of that particular workout. So I think doing things like this where you're pacing a group does really help you fine tune that ability to find the right pace. And then, also, like I mentioned as well, it's also great to have just that, built-in camaraderie with everyone else in the race. Always makes it feel easier to pace or, run a workout with company than on your own.
Yeah, it's always easier to run with company, and I think that could, set you apart. So thank you for your time, and looking forward to seeing you at future races. I know I will. Well, I'll be like with binoculars seeing you in the race. But thank you so much, and you've done so well. You're definitely an inspirational runner. You're not just hitting all the numbers, but you're out there with a smile on your face, and you're just you just keep going and going and going. So thank you so much, and we'll see you around again.
All right, yeah, thank you, John. It's great talking to you, and it's always great seeing you out at races and not just out and about town.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. How does Abby inspire you? Write your feedback below. Thank you. See you later.